beautiful human, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about how to get out of the toxic relationship we have with our insecurities. And this one is hitting me dead in my face because as I make my transition into doing things that I've always wanted to do, as I make my transition into like what I classify as womanhood, one of the big things for me is to eliminate, if not silence, some of my insecurities. And so when I've talked to y'all in the past, like the past 3 relationship videos, those were things that I've been like comfortable in and tips that I've been using for quite some time. So I'm speaking like from experience. These tips today, I'm speaking from like current place Angie. So these are things that I am actively trying to do to kind of silence my insecurities and move forward to being a confident and secure woman. And even if that's not 100% of the time, I'm aiming to make it like 90% of the time I feel confident and secure in who I am, and no one can shake that. I'll be honest, right now we're hustling, moving, and grooving at like a 55%. 90% of the time, I know those percentages don't make sense, but you get what I'm saying. 90% of the time, I'm faking it till I make it. And sometimes that making it is like, okay, now I'm comfortable, maybe not confident. So I want to transition those 2 C's. I want to go from being uncomfortable to being comfortable to being confident. And so these are some tips that I am using right now in my current life to really make that transition from comfortable to confident, from insecure to secure, and just into womanhood in general. So we're going to get right into it with, if y'all hear that scratching, Pepper is doing something in her playpen, and I'm just going to keep moving and grooving along like I don't hear it. So if you hear it, I'm so sorry. Pepper, stop. Tip number 1 is stop faulting your younger self when you didn't have the tools or the know-how to make a different choice. What I mean by that is I wouldn't look at my 10-year-old self and be upset because she didn't know her timetables well. My 10-year-old self would not look at my 2-year-old self and shame her because she wet her pants a couple of times. Like, why is it when we become a certain age, we feel like I should have had that all together, I shouldn't have made that mistake, I should have known better, I shoulda. Instead of saying, oh wow, those were the building blocks. I learned something there, and now I won't do the same thing again. Like, when does that grace that we give ourselves end? And why does it end? Like, what age no longer needs grace, you know? So when I think about the stages of our life, it's like up until 18, every other phase we give grace for, right? Like, our 22-year-old self wouldn't fault our 15-year-old self for not driving well. It'd just be like, I was 15, I didn't know what I was doing. So as you get older, it doesn't mean you need less grace. It just means you should have learned from the mistakes you've made and not continue to make the same ones. But it doesn't mean stop giving yourself grace. So when I find myself being insecure about my past behaviors, past habits, the past way in which I've shown up in the world, I remind myself that 21-year-old Angie was needed and behaved exactly as she should have so that 28-year-old Angie could be who she is. Instead of feeling shame or guilt or insecurity about her, she is exactly who she needed to be. And I honor that version of myself. I'm grateful for that version of myself. She gave something to my life that I never would have imagined her giving at that time had I not pushed forward to become this version of myself. So instead of feeling shame, insecurity, and guilt for that version of me, I celebrate her because she was necessary. And that is what I think we need to realize when I say I want you to love, honor, respect, validate every version of you. That doesn't just mean the versions that showed up well. That means the versions that showed up broken. That means the version that showed up chaotic. That means the version that showed up incomplete. Honor her too, because she provided, added something to your life that you would have never thought you needed until you turned this age that you are now, and be like, wow, she showed me so much. So when I find myself feeling insecure about my past, about behaviors that I've had, ways in which I showed up, I flip my narrative and I just honor her. I thank her for what she gave to my life, instead of being like, wow, that was really dumb, that was really stupid. Cut that out. Cut that out. We don't need that in our life. Tip number 2 is don't allow yourself or anyone else to shame you back into a box that you've already outgrown. Y'all watch Barbie, and y'all know, like, when Barbie went to go tell Mattel that she, you know, needed some help, and Mattel was like, just get in the box. And Barbie was like, something is wrong with that box. That box doesn't seem like it's really going to work out for me. I feel like I know that box. That box feels familiar. I left it a while ago. I don't think I should get back in that box. And then she ran like the wind. That's what we need to be doing when we are in settings or environments that make us feel like we have to conform back into a said box. And sometimes our insecurities will tell us, oh, you only fit in that box. Look at you trying to be somebody new. You only fit in that box. Go ahead and get back in that box, because the world doesn't know you without you being in that box. And so instead of doing exactly what you feel compelled to do in those insecure moments, which is enter back into a box that you've already outgrown, take off in the opposite direction and embrace whatever is coming. Because I guarantee you, getting back in that box is the last thing you want to do, because you've worked so hard to outgrow that box. And so recognize that box does not fit you anymore. And the last thing we want to do is surround ourselves with people who want to put us back in that box, because number one, we should be asking ourselves, what is me being in that box doing for you? But number two, I would hate to see us put ourselves back in that box because of our own insecurity. So when you are feeling insecure and you're wanting to lean into what feels comfortable and familiar, which is that box, I challenge you not to go back into it. I'm challenging myself not to go back into it, because you've outgrown it already. You've outgrown it, and we're on to bigger and better things. And so we're not going to let our insecurity place us back in a spot that we have outgrown and moved away from. Tip number 3 on dealing with our insecurities is create a victory board or journal. And that may sound cheesy to some of y'all, but I think it's a great idea. I keep a little small wins at the end of every month and at the end of the week. My planner has a spot for me to put notes, and I'll put my victories, like what is it this week that I felt really proud of? And I make sure to do it not just for tangible things. So I don't want to just be like, I posted content 3 times this week, and I cleaned the kitchen, and I cooked all my meals at home. I want it to be like, I felt good about myself today. I gave someone else a compliment. I made someone else smile. I took time to read for 20 more minutes than I typically do. Create a victory board or a wins board, whatever you want to call it for yourself, but start keeping track weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually of things you've done, because our insecurities will tell us that you've made no progress. Your change is insignificant. No one's paying attention to you. Who cares about what you did? Your insecurities will be so blaringly loud that you need to combat it with something that is so concretely clear. That's why a victory board or a victory journal is so good, because when you find yourself slipping into an insecurity, you can look back and go, oh wow, I've overcome this, 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 and this. I have shown up in this way consistently for the past 30 days, and I'm so proud of myself. But when we don't notate our wins, our insecurities become louder and louder and louder and louder. And so creating a victory board or a victory journal of some sort is a great way to silence those insecurities and celebrate yourself, because you're doing great. You, my friend, are doing good. Number 4, listen to me when I say, if one of your insecurities is that you think people are thinking about you, what I want you to know is they're probably not thinking about you. If you're worried about how people are perceiving you, I would really love for you to just like take 45 seconds to think about the fact that they're not perceiving you at all. People probably aren't thinking about you. They're probably not even having the slightest thought about what you're doing. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in, I wonder what they think, and I wonder how they felt about my content, or I wonder why they didn't like my post, or what are people saying about me behind my back, and what are people thinking when I set up my tripod to record my content, and what are people thinking now that I've made this drastic change in my life, and you know, I used to be this person. Guess what? Somebody, somewhere, maybe 70% of people are not thinking about what you're doing. They are probably consumed with what is happening in their own life and trying to figure out their own trajectory and trying to navigate their own insecurities. So if one of your insecurities is being concerned about other people's thoughts and opinions of you, I encourage you to stop thinking about what people are thinking. Stop and just do what you are supposed to do, which is use those things as stepping stones, building blocks. Remind yourself that you don't fit in certain boxes anymore, and that's okay. Count your victories and your wins. Drink your water, mind your business. Because people might not be thinking about you. They're probably not thinking about you. And that's the reality of life. We get so caught up on wondering what other people are thinking, but more so, I think we should get caught up in people probably aren't thinking about us. Which leads me to tip number 5, and that is, if people are thinking about you and you're insecure about what people are thinking about you, if their thoughts are not headed in a positive trajectory, and you assume that they are friends, you assume that they like you, you assume that, you know, y'all are just cordial individuals, and they are thinking about you in some way which is negative, count that as a blessing. Because at the end of the day, at least it gives you a clear understanding of, okay, so you are thinking about me, and you're not thinking about me in the greatest light, so what I thought our relationship was actually not. And so that's just clarity. In this season of our life, in our big grown age, all we want, I hope, most of what we want is surrounded by clarity. And so if I thought that you are my friend and you're not operating as a friend or as an acquaintance or as somebody who's rooting for me, and you're actually talking about me or being ugly or being vengeful or whatever the case may be, I don't want to stop you from doing that. Do as you please. What I'm thankful for is now I can see the light. I can see exactly how you feel about me, so I can navigate what those wounds feel like, not take them on as my own, and move forward towards the person I'm supposed to be, and not get stuck in that box being concerned about why you think what you think about me. We have such a bigger calling on our lives than to be wrapped up in thinking that people are thinking things about us or ruminating on things that people are thinking about us. There's so many other things for us to be doing, and so when you find yourself really slipping into that mode of why this and why that regarding people and their behavior, instead of wondering for days about why people do what they do, just thank God for the clarity. Just go, oh, okay, I get it now. I see that. I understand that. And I can move forward accordingly. I don't have to wonder anymore. I don't have to guess. It's laid out right here in front of me. I can see it. And now I can move forward. Oh my God, it's another one. Y'all, these mosquitoes is in my house. Hold on, y'all. I'm finna get it. Come on down. Y'all, I hate these things. Oh, I lost it because they be so thin. And I don't want it. I don't want them to get me. Because you know they carry germs and Ebola. Y'all know they carry germs. I don't even know where it went. Let me finish talking to y'all so I can search for this bug in my house. Anyway, like I was saying, consider it a blessing. Instead of wondering and concentrating on the why, just say, thank you for the clarity. Because who knows why people are thinking or doing what they're doing. And instead of allowing their thoughts or their energy to become your new insecurity, don't take that on as something you need. Just be like, okay, I see, I understand, I comprehend, I move forward accordingly. The end. We get so bogged down taking on other people's thoughts of us as insecurities of our own. And in 2024, I'm not doing that. I cannot carry your insecurities and mine because mine are heavy enough, and I'm actually trying to get rid of them. I don't need to add anyone else's to the plate. So if there's an opinion you have of me, a feeling you feel about me, and you are set and is solidified in that opinion, keep it. Meanwhile, I've got to trudge forward. I've got to figure out how to release this baggage so I can live a life that is authentic, that is intentional, that is secure, in who she is. And so I got to go. I can't be here with you for you to project an insecurity that you want me to have about myself onto me. I thank you for the direction, the clarity, and now I'm going to move forward. The last tip I have for you guys, I say it to my clients a lot, and I had someone suggest like a higher self day to me, because I always say I want to do things that honor my higher self. Not my current self, not my past self, but the person I aspire to be. I want to tap into her. And so consistently do things that silence your insecurities. In order to do things that silence your insecurities, do things that honor your higher self. What does that look like? That looks like if you're insecure about, I don't know, your legs. I don't know. I'm just using an example. If one of your insecurities is your legs, challenge yourself to say, I'm going to wear this outfit that really embraces the current stage of my legs, because when I do get my legs to where I want them to be, I'm gonna show these legs off. For me, it's my smile. I'll say super insecure, but I am insecure about my teeth. And instead of allowing that insecurity to creep in and all I do is grin with my mouth closed, I challenge myself all the time to smile with my teeth. And so I'm doing things that my higher self would be doing. And those are very simple, tangible tasks. But if we want to take it a step further, my higher self is someone who cares about her skin, that sees a dermatologist, that, you know, has a long-step skincare routine on the weekend, that is being cautious and mindful of her sun exposure and what she eats and drinking her water, like all of those things. What does my higher self need? What does my higher self look like, number one? But what does she need? And start doing those things that look like your higher self on a regular basis, because then that becomes your norm. That becomes your norm. It's not a new higher self day. It's a higher self lifestyle. And you're constantly adding things to the list that let you go, I am who I say I am. Because I do the things that I say I'm going to do in order to honor the next version of me. And so those are my tips for how to get out of a toxic relationship with your insecurities. Y'all, I'm trying my best to get out of mine. Like, we're in Q1 of the year. And I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm feeling like, all right, you're doing the work. Now, I don't mean confident as if I don't have the insecurities. I mean confident in the fact that I'm doing the work to silence the insecurities, and I'm doing it consistently. I'm about to get back into therapy. The last time I went for therapy was maybe like August of last year. And I'll be honest, anytime me and my therapist really get into the nitty gritty, into the weeds, I'll be like, stop talking to me so loud. I'm a therapist, and so I understand, you know, that we gotta say hard things sometimes, but don't say hard things to me. Because why would you do that to me? Why would you make me think deep thoughts and unpackage things that I thought I put a bow on and tucked away? Why are we opening that box? So I'm about to get back into therapy, so I can talk about the way in which my insecurities are manifesting and showing up, because they do show up sometimes. They do show up. Prime example, I don't mind sharing with y'all what I'm working on. I realized when I moved to Selma from Pennsylvania, so I'm originally from Hershey, Pennsylvania, moved to Alabama in 2012, and I felt like I was constantly trying to prove to people that I didn't see myself as better as them, or I wasn't stuck up, or I didn't have this view of them that I was better and they were less. And so I constantly tried to put myself in a box. I over apologized, I overshared, I tried to dim myself down because I was so worried that people were going to have this perception of me that wasn't really who I was. It still eats me up at my big grown age, because what I find myself doing now is I don't mind if people dislike me for something that I've actually done. Like, if you dislike me and I slapped your mama, well then of course you would dislike me and I don't have no problem with that. I get that. But if you turn around and you're like, I just don't like her because, and I'm like, well, why don't you? Because she thinks she's this, and this. I really have a hard time with that. Like, I need to understand why you dislike me so I can either disprove the reason why you dislike me, or I can apologize for something I've done. And I'm really trying to work myself out of that, because when people's mentality is like that, that has nothing to do with me. And I say that out loud with my mouth, but on the inside, I'm constantly trying to figure out, what did I do to make this person dislike me, and why do they dislike me? And I'm trying to figure it out and fix it. So I really find myself struggling with having to prove to people that I'm a good person. I'm trying to prove my heart to people. And that also comes with a need for people to like me. I want people to like me so bad. And I can go down a rabbit hole about why that is too. All of these things stem from like childhood, in high school, Angie, and just really trying to get people to understand who I am as an individual. And I think that also comes from, I'm always over understanding. I'm an over understanding person. You could do something blatantly in my face that clearly that clearly is disrespectful, and I'll be like, oh, they didn't mean it that way. They didn't mean to do that. If you ask any of my close friends, I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, you know, they didn't mean to hurt my feelings, or, oh, they all went out for brunch but nobody invited me. They didn't mean it like that. Or I called her and she never called me back. That doesn't mean anything, even though that's been like the 15th time that's happened. You know, people get busy and I'm supposed to be there for people. I am overstanding. I am overstanding of people's behavior. So when people seem like they don't want to get to understand my intentions or my heart, I feel like now I have to do something about it. And in reality, I don't got to do nothing. That's hard for me. So that brings up some insecurities from childhood, from my teenage years, that I'm just trying to work through. So that's my little ramble for y'all. Instead of just giving y'all some tips, I also want to share with y'all like what I'm working on in life. Like, I'm not always speaking to y'all from a place of I know what I'm doing. I got things I'm working on too. I got shit, baby, that I'm just trying to clean up. I'm just trying to get it together. But that's all for this week's video. Your reminders for this weekend are: mind your business, drink your water, stay out of that box, okay? Don't shame yourself back into no box. Don't let yourself fall back into old habits and old patterns simply out of insecurity. And love yourself louder this weekend, okay? If you're the kind of person that shows up and does for everyone else, I want you to shut them off and love on you, okay? Love on yourself, because yourself needs some TLC. Other than that, you guys, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all social media platforms at WithAngieK, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.